So the information cyclist officers, or
Sometimes.
I call them information.
Oh, you mean the guys that
Can they write tickets?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. I think they're allowed to. But a limited type of thing. That's all they can do.
Oh, Mr. Lundy, how
Yeah.
nice to see you.
Parking violations, that sort of thing.
That's it.
Come to
Can't,
the,
no speeding
Yeah,
tickets.
they can't.
see, that was a limelight, you gotta get that in.
I've always wondered though, if they were there, they saw you doing something, you know, what do they do?
Have anybody who wanted to.
This is
Farmers
several
market.
years ago, I broke my
I
ankle.
had
And,
sat out
so
for
I
a
was on
year after
crutches.
getting turned out.
and so I went down to the post
And I
office.
figured they could
you know,
use my
And so
history
I
going back to
park in the,
a couple of
Yeah.
years before.
and
Before
one of
the
the,
beginning.
one of the police officers was in the post office at the time,
But
so
you
I go
guys, I was
in
down
on
in
crutches,
Columbiana
get my mail,
and
come back
they
out.
run across
One of
the
the
Fitzpatrick's house that's
bicycle
up for
officers
sale.
riding,
You cannot believe
riding
the north guy
music.
with
And so I just get in my car, I didn't say
faces
anything.
that are housed.
And so the officer goes over to him, and talks to him, and never heard anything from him.
Well,
Yeah.
somebody
And of
came
course, I'm
last
coming out on
Tuesday.
crutches, but of course, I don't have a car. I mean, I don't have a
Oh,
handicap.
you didn't have the
But I didn't
car,
have the
that's what it
house,
was.
so
Yeah, so you didn't, yeah. He's playing by the rules.
The whole side of his house.
Well, I kind of got a kick out of that one.
It was
You
amazing.
hobbled in.
I have to admit, there were times that it seemed like, well, you could be compliant, but it would really look.
Yeah, if we'd approved
I
that
guess somebody finally
imitation
did it.
for,
Oh, everyone's leaving. They got here, now they're leaving.
don't take it personally.
So when this text was color coded,
It's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah.
not only that, but it'd be even better, however, if the colors were explained.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I just
it's
found out
bad
about
too,
that
yeah.
When I called, I spent a couple of hours or so yesterday going through the whole thing, and I called this afternoon and said, by the way,
Ordered.
Give us a
online,
legend
got
for this.
24 pairs instead of 2.
well, I mean, I must
Did you
admit that
really?
it does say at the top of the first page, but it's a little, you know, it's not, it's not impossible to miss.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Anyway,
I have some that are red and striped in there, yeah. I'll have to wear them next time.
Okay, well, shall we get started? Or should we end?
Right.
All in favor?
Okay, okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
I second.
All in favor?
I,
And do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Or is there any corrections on the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, we have a work session here tonight, and yes, I must say that when I was reading the blackouts, I was sitting in a cafe that had a lot of light was coming in, and it was like, I actually had to turn around to see the print.
It's horrible.
I was reading under nearly ideal conditions in my office with an additional desk light, and it was still hard.
Yeah, no, it was, I was kind of squinting, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is my first time I've seen it on paper. Because, you know, this is from my screen, it looks totally different.
suspected.
So I learned, I'm not gonna ever do that again.
Yeah, I mean, just lighter colors, although, you know.
Well, actually, what I'll do is just I'll do a test first, but do just the color of the ink. In fact, these were notes to myself to make sure that I had, in the old language, had put it in the new, you know, in the draft, and so,
you could
yeah,
suppress all
so
that.
each one of the colors were to, you know, signify to myself, you know, that I've done that section, and I can find that within the text. So,
So you
Next-
put all
next
that-
time I'll do
Put us
a
through all
key.
of that for nothing.
Yeah, yeah. But maybe that just spurred you to actually read the real ordinance that,
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to start with events and outdoor merchandising.
all right.
And
Yes.
should we read through this?
Well, you know, I was gonna just kind of explain with the draft of
Yes.
how that,
Okay.
plays out. And so what I've tried to do is combine what I could from that current language into the draft special events and outdoor the special events section, which is, would be this chapter 4 is what we're calling it, introduction of new chapter 4 special events. So what I've tried to do is put as much as I can from the other sections of the various, where it's kind of scattered around and it makes sense within the, this section. But then there's parts that didn't really fit within that. And so I just wanted to keep those where they were, and that would be in what is on pages 18 and on. Those are where it stays within the
On the attachment B.
yeah, sorry, in
Lower
the
right, bottom right.
you'll see the bottom right hand has the page numbers, and I have extras if anybody needs extras of. Everybody got that. So, because you'll see on page 16, section 2 repeals the whole parade permit, because that was put into. Everything with parade is handled within the special events now. And then on page 18, that's when we get into the different amending what the current text is that I didn't feel really needed to go into the special events ordinance. And so the blue is just to notify that there is sign language, and I was verifying that agreed with our other zoning languages. Anything that's underlined is an addition. So yellow highlight with, under temporary sign, you'll see and posted no longer than 14 days without a special event permit. We have a problem, I think, in this city that we use the word temporary throughout our ordinances and never specify a time period or what that even means. And so what happened in a lot of places I've worked, that gets taken advantage of, and what we were finding, especially in Georgia over the last 6-7 years, people were just putting banners up for their signs and leaving them up for as long as they can instead of having a permanent sign. So I wanted to put some term on what temporary is, and then these window signs are becoming more and more things, so I went ahead and kind of made a little edit to that to make it more fitting with what we're seeing nowadays.
So it's a way of getting away with putting something because it's not a wall sign.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think,
Not on the wall.
I think we will have to do this as part of our planning commission, is
Yeah.
address our signage here soon, because what I'm seeing more and more of is people using their window space. You know, I compare them to the kind of the Hispanic groceries back home where there's no window actually you're seeing through. It's just all signs, you know. So that gets taken advantage of some. So I'd like to kind of clean that up, but I didn't do it all here today or in this version. So as we move into pages 20 through 23, you'll see I took out large sections of what used to be the outdoor merchandising. All that is now being handled within the events language ordinance. So that's what all this kind of color coding kind of played back into.
Tim, I might have missed this.
Yeah.
I definitely missed this. Can you just quickly tell me what this different color coding is? Is yellow a change?
Yeah.
Okay, and blue is a what?
So blue was just for my reference to find if that's mentioned anywhere. You'll see lawn sign means a temporary freestanding sign. So I highlighted that temporary was being used in those just for my understanding. I didn't change any of the language. It was just, I was trying to find those things and,
Just a point of reference for you.
yeah, as a point of
Okay.
reference, yeah.
So what does green mean?
So let me see.
Like at the very beginning?
Okay, yeah, so that means that they remain, but they remain as is.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So yellow, change, green as is, blue I put elsewhere or canceled out of the, because it's now handled within the ordinance, the special events ordinance. So that's what should have been in the key, and I'm sorry for that. That will be the next time I do it, I'll put a key in. And like I said, likely I will not use that kind of highlight thing.
Jeff, I missed what you just said about blue again.
Okay, blue should be in the new special events ordinance. It's handled there, or it's handled, it's not just chunked over there, but it's incorporated. So, like a parade, I didn't just take the parade language and move it over, whereas I did that with farmer's market. Farmer's market's the exact same language, I just moved it on over. But it should be incorporated in here. In other words, a parade is part of the new special events ordinance. And it's now going to be repealed from, that language is repealed from where it sits currently under traffic or something like that.
I
So-
haven't noticed any loitering information.
Anyway,
Loitering information.
Lawyer?
Well, I mean, I was
Loitering.
I was reading this from the standpoint of how would I screw around with it?
I like that, Joe. That's a good perspective. I like it.
And there's a lot of talk about something being reasonable, and I think that's a fuzzy word. But I also think that, I'm not sure it's worth doing a special event in Cannon Beach if you have to go through all of this. I mean, I just think it's complex as it can be.
That may be a good thing, to suppress most of them.
Well, actually, it's just a major event that's really going to go through quite a large vetting under this ordinance. The others, the minor events, I don't think are asking too much, but that's my opinion. And I would say this is fairly similar to most most places, so.
What do you consider a large event?
It's in here,
50,
yeah.
50
Yeah.
or more people.
Yeah, usually 50 or more people.
And
So
Joe,
do you want to go through this
do
page
we
by
wanna
page, or how do you
discourage
want
people from
to
loitering?
handle it?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. I mean, is that,
Page 2
I
of that
mean,
one
do
is
we
the
want to
definition.
discourage people from parading?
I think we want to constrain people from parading without unconstrainedly. But having people just hang around, I think is,
As long as
we
there's 4
encourage
feet
people to
of
come.
sidewalk available,
I
so,
beg your pardon?
as long as there's 4 feet of sidewalk available so I can creep through it.
Yeah. Meanwhile.
yeah,
Is everyone ready to adopt all the changes? Do I have a motion?
that's why you have the gavel.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to figure out how you want to approach, if you want to go through page by page, or how you want to.
Yeah, it's up to you guys, but yeah, I would say we just start at the beginning there and talk about any concerns. I'm fine with, if we have other thoughts, like Joe's, like if it, why are we doing this kind of thing, but.
Okay, so on the page 1 then, that is underlined is new.
Yeah, anything that's underlined is, and that's why pretty much most of this is, anything in this first section is in language that's being introduced into the ordinance. And then you'll see as you get into section 2s, 3s, and 4s, it's either being taken out, or, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the new section of the code, is what we're talking about.
And Jeff, do you think that it's for the sort of marginally substantive things that I brought up this afternoon, do you think that I should take everybody's time for those, or you guys?
No,
can
I
just
got
take care of
those,
it?
and
You got
I
it?
agree
Okay.
with them. I
Okay,
think, you know,
good.
I don't
Okay.
have no issues with any of
Okay.
those. Those are excellent.
Do any of them change the context?
The context?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, so you were just
They were certainly
editing.
not intended to.
So you were just editing.
I'll give you an example on the first
Okay,
page.
okay.
Of which there were not a lot of these. I mean, on line 34, I said, why do we really want to say that someone who aids attendance at a special event is an event promoter? I think we can just take that out, for example. Things at approximately that level.
Yeah, and like where it says community and economic development director, there's no, you know, get rid of economic. So quite a few edits and language, technical changes is what I would call them. And so I went through them with Bob earlier today and tried to catch those. And so I've made notes of all those. I don't think any of them were substantive, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Jeff, can you tell me the lens that you took? Lens is the best word I have right now. That you took as you were looking at this section of the code and going, here's how I want to view. Here's the sorts of changes I need to make to address the concern that's been brought to me.
Yeah. Well, first concern I had is that we really have not. We have no ordinances for events.
Okay, so something
Okay.
we need.
So I really honestly think we need something to, if somebody wants to do an event, you know, where we pull language from to say you can't be doing this here, we don't really have that. We have nothing to stand on, really. I mean, they're in bits and pieces, and that's why there's some parts, you know, scattered about, but nothing really solid, and then not giving people the ability to give us information and telling them what type of information we want for them to give us, to have as kind of documenting, you know, for risk and for all that, what we have. Not to say that we don't have an application process and that we go through certain things. And this really, I don't think is that different from doing that. I'm trying to just kind of put language to it and then separate it into, like I said, majors and minors, because I do think that there's certain minor ones that we might want to allow, and that gets back to kind of the food truck, you know, and so that was one of the things that came forward. So I tried to just kind of pull those two thoughts together, you know, how would we have a process for doing this? And then respect those things that are already being done. And then the Parks Committee came to me with language that they wanted in there, put that in there. And so this was kind of my first shot at it.
So on page 1, on line 25, affected parties, so if you're located within 300 feet, is that a good number, or is that, seems to me that's more excessive than we normally, you know, allow.
Somebody's having a loud party, for example, you can hear it about 300 feet, I think. I figure this is three house frontages.
Is everyone
Alright.
comfortable with 300 feet?
It's a football field.
Yeah, it's a football field.
That seems like it's too far, that you shouldn't.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking of is, sound is basically the thing that's going to affect somebody
Yeah.
that's 300 feet away.
Sure.
And so we have codes that if they exceed the decimal level, if they're 100 feet away, if they exceed the decimal level, that would be prohibited.
Well, parking as well, I think, is another thing that can often be an issue. And so, yeah,
I don't think it's excessive.
yeah.
I like it.
So does the enforcement officer, is there a decimal level
Decibel.
that they go by, that they go by in terms of measuring sound?
Yeah, I think that well, there's two different ways of doing it. Is one's not supposed to be past you're not supposed to hear it past that's the one that we have currently in for commercial areas and everything. You're not supposed to be able to hear it past the premises. And so, then there's others that are done at the decibel level.
Yeah.
So, under the noise ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, this is Jelaine. I'm the disembodied voice from,
I was wondering where you were seated.
I thought you were banquet host.
Go ahead, speak it.
This might be a more general comment related to parks, but this might be an area that it pertains. The thought we had in the Parks Committee was that some of the regulations for use of the space would be different than in other public areas. And we've been revising our Parks Code. So actually the one that is included in the packet this time is the current one. We have some revisions that would certainly affect these kinds of events that are going before the City Council in August. So I can speak to those or not today, but just to know that there are some other strictures. But within the Parks Code, for example, it says sound can't impact or extend beyond the area of the park. And the 300-foot area, because we can't reserve space in parks for events. There may be other events or, people doing things that are closer than 300 feet if people are wanting to do something in a park. So if we're applying the Parks Code standards for any activity or event in a park, there may be a variety of places that would be different, I guess. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
and I'm glad you brought that up. Are you fine with where I put your all's language? I put it there right at the very beginning. I thought that should be the first thing people should bump into. It's on line 16, page 3.
In the green highlight? Or in the
No, I'm talking about in the actual draft ordinance.
actual- okay.
Yeah, if you look at page
Also,
3.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, perfect. Special, and that was the other thing, I think I missed this when I looked through it before, so all of it's in city park shall comply. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. I think that covers it, so that would just, it gives people a heads up that if they're doing something in a park that's different regulations might apply. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
So on that same page on 29, funeral possessions by a licensed mortician. Do you have to have a licensed mortician to have an event like that?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I would guess that you can't have a funeral procession other than going from a funeral to a burial. I've never seen one otherwise.
There are, in New Orleans there are.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
that,
but I
Joe.
think if we want to have a New Orleans,
Yeah.
event, I
Yeah,
think we
I would applaud
look at
that, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
I don't think I've ever seen a funeral procession going through Cannon Beach.
Yeah,
I
I haven't.
haven't.
I think I'm not going to worry
But
about it.
no,
Yeah.
I want one.
You personal?
Okay.
We'll guarantee you get one.
If you die before I do.
That's a great.
Not right away.
Well,
Good thing you clarified it.
yeah. Anyways, I mean, I'm thinking in our situation here, I was thinking it'd be more in terms of a family wanting to do this rather
Yeah.
than,
well,
but,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if somebody came to me or came to the city and
Yeah.
you know,
right,
you know.
right.
I've never had
Can I-
one
Where
here.
is that on the
In
page
Georgia,
again?
we had them all the time. I've never had one come to me here, so.
I want to
I'm
speak
not-
to the deceased.
Where on the page?
29.
Yeah.
29.
It's, so, yeah, I
would take out the license mortuary, I don't like it, I don't like.
just put funeral procession.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good with me.
Couple of the other numbers besides the 300 feet we might look at in the definitions is on page 1, number 28, demonstration. Means any formation, procession, or assembly of 50 or more persons. Is that from,
That's from another jurisdiction, so.
Looked like it, yeah.
and then on page 2, line 5 is a major event, and here we talk about more than 200.
Yeah, well, that's for anything that is kind of the threshold number for if, you'll see that, let me find it where it says elsewhere. But if we talk about 50 in a couple places, but if anything gets to, or someone comes in and they say that they're gonna have 200 people or more, that automatically throws it into a major event, okay?
So somewhere in between is judgment then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the, at the discretion of the assistant city manager, I think, is how I had it in here.
So has there ever been a count on how many people come to the annual parade?
We have 1,500 corgis gonna be in town tomorrow, but I don't know, or Saturday, but I don't know,
Okay.
Who is?
that's the corgi days, they're saying 1,500 is what they told us, so.
You know, the dogs.
Corgi. Oh, I thought it was very Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney's going to be
so
there.
did they get an event permit?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did.
Okay. Who signed it?
Another
Yeah, that's a question I have. On page, oh jeez, the page number, to tell you the truth, 4, it's 4.
Okay.
Okay. At the top, there says the special events committee, they're the ones who have to approve the permit, shall be comprised of the assistant city manager, community development director, fire chief, police chief, public works director, emergency manager, or their designated representatives.
How much money is that?
Well, the thing, I don't know, I think you should have you need to have a couple of citizens on that committee as well. I think that's a problem, because what
I've
if,
never done that. I've never seen that in
well, I
any,
don't care. I don't care what other jurisdictions do, I'm talking
Yeah.
about here.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I'm
so
just saying
wait,
that I'm
so
suggesting-
here's the problem with that, okay, is just what I'm saying, is that, and if the city council were to appoint that person, possibly, but they can't in other words, this is being signed off by the city, and so they can't give away their, in other words, like you guys are recommending body, right? This is, unless it's given and appointed, just like you guys, then they can't do that, by Oregon
Well, I
code.
guess what I'm afraid of, or what I'm concerned about, is that these special events can have a political point of view,
Yeah,
or a religious point of view.
yeah,
Or anything like that, and to have the city government making those decisions, it seems very subjective, or there's a danger of subjectivity.
I understand that, yes. In fact, and I think I said it last time we met, that a lot of these will not go through the city manager. I've worked in areas where they go to the city council, the major ones. They have to be approved by the city council.
Well, maybe
So
that's-
that could be the process.
Yeah, I mean, because this could, well, it could open the city up to a lot of problems, claims of discrimination because of what the
Well,
I
content
was thinking
of
that
the-
you had language in here that basically said that the decisions would not discriminate based on what positions were going to be taken or what views were expected to be expressed or something like that. I certainly can't say where it was, but
Yeah.
it seems
Well,
to me
you-
you put that in there.
You had free speech language in here.
well, anyhow, either way, you can do it either way. You guys can make that recommendation is what I'm saying. Whichever way you guys would like to see that go. It's still gonna come down to city council making the, you know, kind of the decision or the call on
Yeah,
that.
city council is an elected body, and,
Yeah.
and the people who are making the decision here are not elected bodies.
Yeah,
And that's
but
what
they
bothers me.
hire them, and so, yes, that is,
Right, that's
they are
true, but
making
they-
that call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and see, I think that's not just a problem for the city itself, but I think it's a problem for the community as well. Depending on the makeup of the body at that time, you know, maybe the body right now, the city government would think about free speech, blah, 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 but maybe 6 years from now, they might not, or maybe they would be too lenient, or who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's a problem to have, you know, salaried positions making those kinds of decisions
Are you, at least for
without
all?
any input from any member of an elected body.
Okay, so for, you'll notice I've done that that's for the major that we're talking about. Now, the minor ones are administrative level, okay? And so.
No, I'm
the-
talking about the majors.
Yeah, so just the major.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Any other thoughts, anybody on that?
If I remember, these are things that if that committee nixes something, that it can be appealed to the city council. So you've got, in the first instance, you've got the bureaucrats, no offense,
No,
and then the second,
what I
the
did.
elected
Slime wads.
politicians.
Lisa, how would you fix that so there was
I guess I
citizen
would just
involvement?
have, I like the idea of having someone appointed by the city council, one or two people on that committee.
That are just citizens of the community.
Uh-huh, some kind of citizen representation.
I'd like to go back to my first night comment.
Oh, goody.
And it just seems like we got a whole lot of salary people on a committee to make a decision here. And, I mean, how much dollar time is involved in this committee coming together for every one of these events? I just think that there's something monstrously overblown about this whole set of rules and regs. I guess if I were going to sit down and work this up myself, I'd probably start with, let's design some application forms. What's the information we want to have? And sort of back into the official code.
And so Joe, that's what that next section on the application, that's what that's all about. What we're requiring on our application. And I would say that this is just giving you kind of the details of what they're gonna have, little check boxes on what they have and what they don't have and what they're required. So if you're asking for what's gonna be on the application, it's written right there. So that's backing into it. And so I'm suggesting that this is pretty much, you can, and I can do this for you, pull events applications from cities all across Oregon, the nation. They're going to be very similar to this.
Yeah, I know. I love the fact that all these various entities, political entities across the country are all buying the same set of ordinances.
Not reinventing the wheel.
Pardon?
Not reinventing the wheel.
We're saving that valuable tax
Right.
dollar that you're just talking about,
Yeah.
if you want to rant.
Well, I mean, this is a unique community, so maybe we don't have to do everything like everybody else does.
Exactly.
Well, I'm amazed that we
We're all
survived as a
unique.
community without, extensive, rules and regs and all the i's dotted. and-
Pretty well, too.
Yeah.
It is changing.
Well, what are some ideas? I think Lisa's got a good point on having a cross-check. One idea would be to have, and it might be in here and I didn't see it, where it has some sort of, I don't know if I like the appeal idea, because that would take a long time to the city council. The idea of a couple people being appointed, I think is a good idea. Are there other ideas that might address that concern?
Yeah, I think your two different ways are to have the, one or two liaisons or city appointed officials, or have it go to the council instead of going to the city manager for approval.
So every time someone wanted a permit, you go before the city council.
For major.
For the major,
Not that many.
or you can do it this way, where you have every first time it goes, and if you haven't made major changes, and I think there's language already in there for this, if you're not making a major change, say I do the Corgi parade every year. If I'm not making major changes, I only go before this committee, then it goes to council for their approval, and I don't go back before them unless I'm making a major change to my.
How about sort of, in a way, going the other direction where we were just looking, and that is putting in here that in the first instance, somebody fills out their application, submits it, and either you or Colleen, however you want to do it, or whoever has time, gets to approve it. And if it needs to be appealed, then we convene these 6 highly paid public servants to deal with it.
I want to say something about the highly paid servants, okay? First off, they're not highly paid. Second, no, they're essential in any place you ever go. These are the people, you want your fire chief to check that
Now,
plan,
having
and
said
you
it,
want
I
the
think
fire
that-
chief
yes.
to be calling that. And
Yeah.
that the emergency tent's
Yeah.
in the right place. You
Yeah.
don't want
Okay.
and so that's why those people are there, not just to burn money, okay?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
bad idea. Not the first.
Higher paid or?
How about just paid?
Yeah, paid. Yeah, that's,
Well, let's take a 30,000 foot look at this. How many of these special events do we have a year?
You know, I had a list, the
Yeah.
last one, Joe. I mean, there's, give or take 20 or so, quite a few.
There are 200 people in there?
Now, I don't know how many major, 50 is what we're talking about.
There was-
I don't know how many of those, but I would say at least 15 or 20 that would fall into the major category.
yeah, Kirk put together a list of,
Yeah.
it was pretty thorough, I thought.
Yeah.
The Tourist Bureau has a list. In fact, it's out in my car if
Yeah.
you want to see it.
Well, I can go get Kirk's list, which is all, it's,
Which we've
we
already seen.
reviewed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they've had about 20 on it.
It's,
15,
it's,
20.
yeah, they come and go, some of them, but,
A lot.
and a
I think
growing
that's a lot
number.
of events.
There's a growing number of them, too, yeah.
Every 2-3 weeks.
So what is the fee for a major event or a minor event? Is there a set fee?
No, and that's, often we don't, I don't usually do the fees as part of the ordinance. That comes up at the fee structure when we go before, the council yearly kind of fee structure.
So if it's going to require policemen or traffic
Yeah,
or
and
whatever,
they would, exactly,
included
that's
in the fee.
more, yeah.
So
And that's
like,
probably
what's-
something that goes on the form, which the committees don't usually get involved in.
Yeah.
What's the 4th of July parade? What is that considered?
What would it be considered?
Yeah,
Not
In,
major.
It's to be
yeah,
a major
major.
event.
and then, so who pays for that?
It will be whoever sponsors that event, yeah. And, often you'll have a sponsoring agency, and they're the ones that fills out the application, comes in and does all of that planning.
Well, who pays for it right now?
I'm not even on the permit committee right now, so I wouldn't,
Well,
I
I'm just
wouldn't know,
wondering
yeah.
if the 4th of July parade is free to the city, or if somebody,
Yeah.
or if the Legion is paying for it. I think
Yeah, I don't know if it's, yeah, Bruce, do you,
I might be able to help a little bit. On the major, let me use a couple of examples. The sandcastle. We don't consider at all who might be setting up a booth, any content, any First Amendment issues, anything like that. We're looking at it from the standpoint of public safety. We make sure that they've got the minimum of, that in their case, they had the minimum insurance of $2 million. We're an additional insured. Because in the past, we had issues where our police officers were all on the beach taking care of traffic, that if something happened in town, we would have trouble getting somebody to that location. So last year we made a change, well actually it went into place this year, is that if you're gonna do this, you have to take care of your own parking and hiring of all your parking people, all that, and you have to give us a parking plan. So those are the kind of things that we look at. And there's 2 events that are sponsored by the Legion. One is the wreath thing. Because we can be sued for up to $2 million. And so if the Legion is having an event or the Chamber or something like that, we don't want to have the residents on the hook for, you know, an accident or something like that. So we always try to get on as an additional insured. And then we try to be reasonable about what the insurance is. So when we do the review and it has to do with, you know, the wreath, we had, because they're going to be on the street and things, we had $1 million insurance. But when we did the parade, we said you need to have $2 million insurance, and we would be an additional insured.
that was the Legion had that.
Yes, yes. And as a result, we always get ourselves kind of wrapped up a little bit, but as a result of that last review, they were only able to get $1 million worth of insurance. And at that point, as the manager, I made the decision that we would pay for the additional $1 million, so we would be able to have the parade. But unless we have them coming to us, unless they have them giving us the insurance documents to be reviewed, all those kind of things, we wouldn't have that. So pretty much we're looking where they plan on having it. Then it might involve parks and public works, that sort of thing. So it's really, we don't get into content at all. It's protecting the city and then making sure from a public safety standpoint, insurance, all those kind of things. That's really what we review. It's an incremental process. We all don't come together in one place. I forgot the order. I just know I'm last. But it's reviewed by maybe community development, public works, public safety, fire, that sort of thing. And then after everybody's done the reviews and they've all signed off on it, then I'm checking to make sure that all of the things that would protect the city are there. So that's the intent of what our review is.
So next year, does the Legion have to have a $2 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. We had the opportunity to go and have that discussion.
Okay.
And it wasn't me that said no throwing candy this year. It was their insurance company. I got pinned with that one. Why is Bruce saying they can't throw candy?
How are they gonna hit those little kids?
Yeah. Okay, is that?
Right.
Yeah.
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 Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, and you guys will also see in there about fees and about police protection and other emergency services where if there's extra services required, this gives the city the right to ask for those.
So then, on page 11, the line 8 there where it has sound amplified systems beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 4 p.m. Really?
Oh, no, I think that was when I did, you can see I did a search for, I think everything that was supposed to be at 10 was accidentally changed to 04.
Oh,
You know, I did a find and replace.
oh, okay, okay, so
Thanks-
10
thanks
10
for
makes.
catching that,
Okay.
yeah.
And then further down on line 25, the applicant is in good standing with the city, never having conducted a previously.
Yeah, we've already changed
Oh,
that.
okay, oh, okay. So if I have, if I have two previous unauthorized events, can I still have an event?
Yeah, we're changing that
Oh, okay.
to make it a little,
Okay.
that's like a triple negative, not even a double negative.
Yeah, really? Okay.
So that's an example of a change that's made that is substantive, right?
The 10 PM?
No, not the 10, the in good standing.
No, we're just trying to clean it up so the applicant is in good standing with the city, never having conducted a previously, we're trying to clean that up to say, okay, if you've currently have unpaid violation with the city or whatever,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what that means,
Okay.
okay? So that we can say, oh, hey, we can't allow that under 1C or whatever that is.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeff, I don't know if you want to go into the weeds here, but on page 10, where you have the blue,
Yeah.
you have owner or lessee needing to have written approval.
That was a question I had to, I'm glad you said that. That was a note to myself to bring that up, you know. Do we really want to allow leasees to do this or, you know, all leasees? Because, you know, in other words, what this is for the minor, okay? And this is for outdoor sell events. So the person who's operating the store is the one who's really the applicant often, and they don't own the building. You know what I'm saying? So it might say business owner or, you know, but I've made a note to say, you know, is that a leasee of the property? Whatever we need written from the actual person operating the business is what I'm saying, not the owner of the owner language. It doesn't often. Maybe business owner. Or,
Yeah, there's just, I'd probably maybe get a legal opinion on that, because there's potential for conflict or interpreting leases and what their rights are, and the owner coming back and going, you didn't have my permission to do that on my property.
And that's a good one just to run by Bill anyhow, and how we want to handle that, because I don't want just anybody that gets, hey, if I walked in and got a business license, to just go down and do a event within a building someplace that they're not renting or owning. You know, in the South, a lot of people will do the flea markets and things like that, and sometimes they do them in old Kmart stores and things like that. So we don't want that kind of thing.
The tough part in doing something like this is once you start, I mean, there's just no end to the minutia that you have to cover. It does lend itself to deep dive and legal interpretation and no stopping.
So do you want to add more language?
Unless, I think it's either nothing or we're just here until tomorrow. Anyway, yeah.
So on page 19, on 22, a drive-in restaurant. What do you mean by that?
That's a prohibited use. We don't allow drive-in restaurants or formal food restaurants in the city of Canyon.
Remember, that's the current.
That's our current.
That's the current, okay. So, so then, how are we going to address this food cart truck?
So I had struck that there,
Okay,
see, to allow for under a special event, a food truck.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But under the special event, the food truck thing, that, the language in here is pretty limited as to how often they can do
Right,
that.
Right.
And,
And they have to be a business,
Okay.
operator.
okay. But what are you thinking of in terms of the number of times they can use a food cart?
Well, I think what do I have? 4 occasions, I
Yeah,
think, per year or
I
something?
think, yeah, I
is what
remember
have.
reading 4 occasions someplace, yeah.
Here, let's,
What page was it on again? There is one.
19 at line 22.
It's where the food truck thing is?
Yeah.
okay, wait,
No,
no, it's down
Something
here.
else.
I'm looking for, there was something,
Oh, where
there's a whole big thing about it.
Yeah, no, that's right, that's right.
No,
What page number is that?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, page 10 is where I'm at.
Where on page 10?
You can see the event does not conflict, no more than 4 occasions per year. That's line 10 and 11. The event is limited to the prescribed time period, not to exceed 72 hours for no more than 4 occasions per year, with at least 30 days between occurrences at each property.
And that's
And
the food, that applies to
that's the
trucks.
food truck
Right.
one.
But really, it would be any outdoor sales,
Yeah.
not just food trucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the one that covers the,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Someone told me that, or they sent me a picture of what the candy store puts up, the inflatables, I think. And so I'm trying to estimate if that's 500 cubic feet, but I don't really, I'll try to do
What's
the
square
math.
root of 500? What's the cube root of 500?
Well, it's 50 by 10 by
15 or
10,
something like
right?
that?
Is that right? Or no,
Five.
5
Five
by
by
10.
10 by 10.
5, 10 by 10, yeah.
Is that that's the only business in this town that puts up inflatables, isn't it? Bruce's?
I don't know, I'm not,
I think that's,
Couldn't there be a grandfather clause?
It's
Continue to do that?
part of the personality.
You gotta be careful of those grandfather clauses.
I think that would allow it, what I'm trying to
Yeah, no,
say.
I mean, I'd like to see it be allowed in some
Yeah,
way.
I think this would allow that's what I'm trying to say. That's, I wanted to, kind of say that that's what that was about.
That's the only inflatable we want. We don't want this.
I don't think we can be that specific.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a different, we're not allowing those, okay, the floppies.
stupid.
That's
Defendables.
got its own term in our language, so,
So it'd be about 8 something by 8 something by 8 something
yeah.
if it were a
Yeah.
cube.
Well,
So-
it's way bigger than that. Don't you think? The spider and the,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, they're huge.
it's higher than their building.
Yeah,
Right.
Oh,
they're gigantic.
Yeah.
that's, I'm trying to remember when I was sent, but I don't think it was that big.
Don't you have to do a building permit for those?
so,
Yeah.
Inflatable
So-
help?
so can we restrict holiday decorations? That's something we can eliminate?
Bah humbug.
I'll look into that
Oh,
number,
okay.
okay?
Okay.
I'll look into that number
All
for
right.
that, though.
And no blinking lights?
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
One of the things I did want to point out there, though, is that, I'm sensitive, I don't really want to see a bunch of rack sales on the sidewalks of our town, so I think that 42-inch of clear pedestrian access pretty much eliminates any of that on most of our streets because there is just not enough space for someone to put a rack out and then have 42 inches of pedestrian.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any merchants that like in the courtyards, if any of those people would want to put stuff out, you know. I mean, I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
Yeah.
Only
I
in
just didn't know
parking
if there
areas
was
is
any,
about it,
if
yeah.
any of them had ever wanted to do merchandising out on the sidewalk, not sidewalk necessarily, the boardwalk. But,
Yeah, but it would have to, you know, it'd still have to allow 42 inches. So
Yeah.
I still think they're going to have difficulty doing
Yeah.
that.
well, do we want to carry this over?
Are you ready to go?
Well, no, I mean, we're kind of at a standstill here. I'm not sure how we,
But what have we agreed upon already?
I don't know.
We haven't, raised
I
the
think-
suggestion.
Right.
I think, why don't you authorize Jeff to incorporate what people have said and bring it to you for sign off at your next opportunity? No?
Well,
I don't think this had.
This is,
We're not ready to do something.
do we have to have public comment on this now?
Not tonight.
Not tonight,
We
no,
can
but I
allow
mean,
it,
but
but
in
we
the future.
will, yes,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
definitely have public
Yeah.
comment.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not ready to sign.
we're, yeah.
any. Or, he's not ready, I'll speak for him.
Well, do we have more discussion on this tonight, or do we want to,
Come back next time with any
Yeah,
last.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
Go ahead.
Come back and look at it a second time.
Well, I would just like it if it was less mushed up with all the stuff, you know, like all the colors. I mean, I'd really like to see it without all that.
I'll give you the clean line kind of version, clean version.
That would
With a
really
page
help
number.
me.
A dark
I mean, page number that's a little dark.
Oh, darken the page number, oh,
Yeah.
The reason is that, I mean, I don't know, so there's not as much back and forth, you know,
Yeah.
you can just read what.
So,
suggestions
Lisa,
are.
just to clarify though, you want just a plain, clean version without any underlines or anything in it?
No, but just no color coded
Ye-
stuff. and
yeah.
No, you know, just, I mean, you could have a key that says if it's underlined, it's new language, you know, if it's,
Crossed out, it's leaving.
yeah, just something simple like that. I mean, I just find this hard to, I'm wondering what's what.
Well,
Forgetting the key.
in the draft language right now, there's really, underline is, like I said, new language that's new, brand new to our ordinances, to the city's municipal code, okay? There's very few blue things, and those are really just for me to check, like Clay said, those are pretty much me to check with the attorney on if this kind of thing was covered, okay? So kind of notes to myself. Then anything else that's yellow, that means that it's being taken out of our current ordinances, so it's affecting current code. And then, you know, same strike through underline with that as well, so. And that's really the only colors I used.
Well, I know with an understanding of this key in your system, that I'll look at this differently than I did at first, which was just overwhelmed, honestly.
Yeah.
And can probably color that better next time.
Yeah, and anything else on, so for the, let me just kind of run through what I'm gonna change though. So what I'll introduce into this is the major is going to now be changed to have two, what do you think, two liaison folks appointed? Okay. So 2 appointed on the
Well,
committee.
Sorry to interrupt. Bruce just said it isn't really a committee, it's a process. So we going to change
They
that
just
process.
go through each department and
They
they
just
sign
pass it
off.
through.
and
Oh,
it comes
well,
back to him.
yeah,
So it's really not a committee meeting.
yeah.
No.
But we can have a committee review of it still, same thing. You know,
Okay, I just wanted to make
yeah.
sure we were,
and,
that means they actually do come together. And
Yeah.
they're not coming together currently. You know, one of the concerns voiced here tonight is we're
Well-
spending time on that.
well, what I'm saying is that they don't have to come together with the whole committee. They can come in, meet with me, we talk about the changes that they'd like to see in it.
I don't think that would meaningfully address Lisa's concern though, which is a voice for, something outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying they'd still meet with the staff unless you want to put in there a recommendation for a meeting. I mean, I've been,
But no, I'm so confused now. So is there, if someone's doing an application, do they meet, does the whole group meet to talk about it? Or does it
No.
go first to one person, then to the police, then to the fire?
I think they do it differently for different events. Some events are large enough that they all meet and have a planning meeting together and talk about that. But other events, they don't. They just bring it in and it goes from department to department. Like I said, I'm not on the current list. I have been sketched in. So we'll be on it in the future. But what I'm saying is I've worked in places where, yes, they meet every Tuesday and they do their events. And so that would be more of, I think, what you're thinking, right, Lisa?
That's what I was picturing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we could do that. We can have a Tuesday event, and those that are in can attend it, but those that aren't can sign off on it. So it's a similar process.
It seems like in that same set of language there, you know, I don't know whether it's in the same set of language or the same thought, but the fact that you have a set of established events that don't really need that level of vetting.
Yeah.
And then maybe the committee comes together on.
Only
new
on the
events.
first ones, on the new ones.
That way
Yeah.
there's not
So
this-
I can write that kind of into
And
almost a two-step.
Some
type.
months or some weeks there wouldn't be any meeting, because there's no, you know,
Right.
there's many
Many months in
weeks
the
where-
winter.
Yeah, there are no special
Yeah.
events.
On the other hand, if events have been going on for 12 years,
They wouldn't have to.
and they don't necessarily meet all of the code, because they've been doing it for all that time, and there was no code. You know, it has to be a point where everyone is treated in similar fashion, to the same standards. And I don't think, just say, well, this is historic. Yeah, right.
But you could have an event that's occurred for many years and suddenly there's new people on
Yeah.
that board and they go crazy
Yeah.
and, do something that we don't want in our city.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, just like now the Legion has to have a $2 million policy to do the 4th of July parade. That's a new issue.
Right.
No candy throwing. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
changing.
it changes, yeah, both sides change, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it's more organized and more,
Something you ought to think about, I think, is there's nothing in here about raves, about all of a sudden this crowd of people just descending on a place in Cannon Beach. It will be an event, and you wonder.
Like a flash mob?
Sturgis and
Well, that's
Cannon
why we have this. So that's why we have this, Joe. You just said why, when you were asking at the very beginning, why we do this? That's why we do this. So that we can say, hey, you did not get a permit under our ordinances.
But the event's already happened.
There's no organization. People just show up.
Right, but we can still then take them into prison and charge them with something.
Good luck. You know? And the other part of this is that this is very careful about guarding constitutional, speech rights and so forth. That covers a lot of territory and a lot of activity. And I would not want to be a person deciding what's permissible, what's not permissible, free speech or naming and so forth and so on.
Well, if a white supremacy group applied for a permit and wanted to march down have a major event on our street, legally, we couldn't stop them.
That's right.
So, let's just hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And can I just talk about how this process works?
Mhm.
In that event, that's something that we might anticipate that there might be some public safety issues. And so that one would receive a lot of scrutiny. But we wouldn't be able to say, make a judgment, no, you can't do that.
You have to have extra police,
Right,
probably
we would-
bring people in from other places.
Right, and
Yeah.
also, there are also requirements that we can put on the people that want to have the event. So that's when all this will happen. We would look at it from, protection of the city, public safety, but not content.
Well, I guess my point is that this is all, well and good for a group of, local citizens, Chamber of Commerce, folk who, are doing acceptable promotional, activity. But when you get down to clever revolutionaries, this doesn't come close to handling the problems that will occur. Cannon Beach has this history of people doing perverse things. Like giving away money on hemlock, tossing out money.
Nichols, I got
If you miss that, yeah.
Nichols,
Dang.
Yeah.
yeah, like
I would
a
say
with
Or,
nickels.
or people selling dog crap at the north end of Cannon Beach.
I did hear about that one.
Yeah, I have a picture of it. Yeah.
I don't know this stuff.
You weren't here yet.
Oh,
Those were the good old days.
Call me.
That was
Outdoor
Del Rey.
merchandising was
I was gonna say that name, yeah.
In the 60s, I was a student at the University of Texas.
There's no process that we could have that would catch those. We would just have to deal, when we find out they're going on, we would go ahead and address them. But you're right, people just want to come in and do something. One of the things that, Jeff mentioned it, 1,500 Corgis and their people are coming here, and it's just organized like on Facebook, see you all there.
Yep.
There's no, there's not a central place where they're meeting, there's none of those kind of things, so it's totally possible for people to go ahead and do certain things, but we, don't
It's
have-
being promoted.
Right, yeah, but as far as our ability to regulate or the kind of things that they're gonna be doing, because they're not gonna be in a particular place, they're not having a,
Not an organization.
yeah.
You mean they're not going to be doing any cooking?
I don't know,
we don't know them, yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I've not thought about it, not associated that with Corby town committees, but that's possible, they probably have to do something.
Also, what constitutes a Cannon Beach?
City
Where
limits?
where are the city limits?
City limits.
Where are the city limits of Cannon Beach?
That map right there has them on there.
So if you're cruising through on 101, when do you enter Cannon Beach?
Right here. I know this map doesn't have Cannon Beaches.
Probably the,
I have it.
The one that has been traditionally in there, I'm not sure. I think it's in
I mean, we have to turn it in every year, our jurisdiction.
Well, I guess, I often see Cannon Beach police cars outside of what I
Yeah.
normally think of as Cannon Beach.
But they have shared service
Right.
agreements.
and see seaside police cars here too.
They get called down quite a bit to help with an accident someplace or an event.
Yeah, well,
One of the things I wanted to point out, I mean, another reason why we're changing, you talked about the thing, Clay, that started it all. One of my favorite is, currently, in my opinion, under the very last on page 21, if you look at F, our current language says, for the purposes of this section, the free distribution of merchandise is considered outdoor merchandising and is prohibited. Okay? So if I cook you a burger in my backyard, tell me that is not an exchange of merchandise.
But that's on private property.
Doesn't matter. Nowhere does that matter. That's not, it does not matter in this ordinance.
Yeah, well, an attorney would have a good time with it.
Oh,
I know.
know.
Yeah. So I've included on public property and in the right of way without a
Yeah.
special events permit.
Okay.
So, there's things that have been, like you said, well, we've done it all the time, but every day somebody says to me, well, they're doing it.
Oh, yeah, right.
That doesn't make it right.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right, So
Since the.
so it's the things that, I'm up at 2 a.m. in the morning popping Tums.
Yeah. Okay, so then you're gonna put this back, put it back together and make it acceptable to all of us?
Well, that was the major change, I think,
Okay.
and and I'll try to do my best in getting that together. But other things anyone has thoughts about or, wants to talk to me about, feel free to give me a call or come in and we can talk about any of the other changes or what's needed.
Does Clatsop County have rules and regs like this?
I don't know if a county does, because counties don't, they do, but counties often don't have them as much as cities do, because cities are the ones that hold events more often than the
And
counties.
in general, I think their regulations apply outside of
Yeah,
any.
Unincorporated
right,
city.
in unincorporated areas, so they don't have as much occasion for a lot of this stuff.
I guess, my point is that an event outside of the city limits, but not very far outside of the city limits, can have a huge impact.
Right.
Indeed.
it's true, yeah.
But there's not much, I don't think that we can do anything about that.
Yeah, I know.
I also, before you guys step away, at least, I'll give them to everybody, but this is a letter, I think it was to the planning commission and to the council. This is from Mr. Pratt, neighbor of the Orths.
Is this what somebody was bringing up earlier? Or is this something-
No, this is our last meeting.
Last month.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh. Yeah, Joe, this is, wow, your position is always here.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we done?
Oh, well,
The Parkers?
okay, then,
And so I also have one other thing that August 21st, 20th or 21st, they're kind of, I think they're asking city council now, but we're hoping to launch kind of the vision and community update of the comprehensive plan. So we'd like to do a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and the City Council to talk about that process and how we're proposing it to take place. And so,
That'll be on a Thursday?
yeah, I think it's a Wednesday
Then
or
it would be
Thursday.
the 22nd.
I think it's a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
so 20, is it 20th?
The
20th or
20th is a Tuesday.
21st? Yeah, so 20th or 21st is what I think they were, the 2 days, yeah. Hopefully the 21st.
okay, so
That's all I had, sorry.
that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything to add? We're not, yeah. Okay, so then we'll wrap up this work session. And anybody have anything to say about the tree report? Ongoing planning items you just mentioned. Good of the order?
I'd first like to thank all the, before Parks leaves, thanks for coming out. Yeah. Thank you.
I just wanted to report.
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me come in.
All right, thank you.
I
I was in contact with
Okay,
people
bye.
from the Humane Society after the last summer's corgi event.
I'm not hearing you. Would you stand up?
Sure. I was in contact with people after last summer's corgi event. I finally reached them. I talked to about 3 different people, and I just told them how we had the dog poop, and it was just too many dogs, too many people. We love dogs, but I asked them if they could try to do it at a different time of year. And the last person I spoke with said they couldn't change it for this summer, like it's coming up now, but for next summer they would try to put it further on in September or even early out here.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there was quite a bit, I'm not saying it was corgi dogs, but there was more dog poop on the main drag than I've ever seen, and I don't know, where it was coming from, but it was substantially more than usual. So, I don't know, it was just, there were a lot of people, it's a big event, and so they were very gracious and said they would really try to do it at a later date, in a year. So hopefully that'll happen.
okay. Then we're adjourned.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody.
And you'll let us know on the August date.
I'll do what? Excuse me?
Let us know on the August date, or if you're.
Yeah, the 20, as soon as I hear. So I'm hopefully by the end of the week.
I'm away those that week,
Okay.
so don't change it on my behalf, if it is considered.
Yeah.
You're opposed to what?
So,
No, he was just, he won't be here for that 21st.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
so,
Well-
60s, Vietnam War.
You believe that? Yeah, you seen it?
September,
I haven't seen
they
it.
had a Ku Klux Klan.
It is sad. I mean, I can't believe what's, he
And so
did
all
over
the
his
Ku Kluxers
grandson.
and their wives.
What's happening to your child?
About